3 years of marriage and my husband never touched me, not even once. When I finally discovered the reason, I realized I had wasted the best years of my youth on a lie. But that discovery also freed me in a way I never imagined. Today, I'm going to tell you this story I've kept for so long, and I hope it can help someone who's going through something similar. My name is Sarah. I'm 30 years old today, but when this story began, I was only 24. It was 2018, and I lived in a small apartment in Portland, sharing it with two roommates I'd met through a mutual friend. I worked as a marketing coordinator at a startup downtown, earning enough to cover my bills and occasionally treat myself to brunch on weekends. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I had always been a cautious person when it came to relationships. I'd had a few boyfriends in college, nothing serious, just casual dating that fizzled out after a few months. By 24, I was starting to feel the pressure from my family and friends. "When are you going to settle down?" My mother would ask during our weekly phone calls. "You're not getting any younger, Sarah." At family gatherings, my married cousins would exchange knowing looks when I showed up alone, again. It was on a Friday evening in March 2018 that I met David. I had gone to a networking event at a local coffee shop, one of those mixers for young professionals trying to make connections. I wasn't particularly excited about it, but my friend Emma had convinced me to go. "You never know who you'll meet," she'd said with a wink. David was standing by the coffee station when I approached to refill my cup. He was handsome in a conventional way, about 6 feet tall with dark hair styled neatly, wearing a crisp button-down shirt and dark jeans. He smiled at me as I reached for the cream. "These networking events are always so awkward, aren't they?" he said, his voice warm and friendly. I laughed, grateful for the icebreaker. "Incredibly awkward. I never know what to say besides, so what do you do?" "Well, since you asked," he grinned, "I'm a financial analyst at an investment firm, and you?" We fell into easy conversation. David was charming, well-spoken, and seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. He asked thoughtful questions about my work, my hobbies, my thoughts on the city. By the end of the evening, he'd asked for my number. Our first date was a week later at a trendy Italian restaurant in the Pearl District. David was the perfect gentleman, holding doors, asking about my preferences, keeping the conversation flowing smoothly. He told me about his childhood in Seattle, his college years studying finance, his close relationship with his family. Everything seemed normal, perfect even. We started dating officially after that. For the first few months, everything was wonderful. David would text me good morning and good night. He'd send me funny memes during work hours. We'd go out to restaurants, museums, hiking trails on weekends. He introduced me to his friends, I introduced him to mine. Everyone said we made a great couple. But there was something I noticed early on that I told myself wasn't a big deal. David wasn't very physically affectionate. He'd hold my hand when we walked, give me quick kisses, hello and goodbye, but nothing more. When we made out on his couch after dates, he'd always be the one to pull away first, saying he didn't want to rush things. I found it refreshing at first. So many guys I'd dated before had been too aggressive, too pushy. David's restraint seemed respectful, considerate. After 6 months of dating, I tried to initiate something more. We were at his apartment, watching a movie, and I started kissing him more intensely. I moved closer, put my hand on his chest, tried to deepen the kiss. He responded at first, but then gently pushed me back. "Sarah, I really like you," he said, his expression serious. "But I want to wait. I want this to be special, meaningful, not just something we rush into." I was disappointed but also touched by his words. In a world of hookup culture and casual relationships, David seemed like a breath of fresh air. A man who valued intimacy as something sacred, who wanted to build a real connection first. "I understand," I said, trying to hide my frustration. "I appreciate that you respect me that much." He smiled with what looked like relief and kissed my forehead. "You're special to me, Sarah. I want to do this right." After a year of dating, David proposed. It was during a weekend trip to Cannon Beach, at sunset on the sand. He got down on one knee, pulled out a beautiful diamond ring, and asked me to be his wife. I said yes without hesitation. I was 25 in love and ready to start the next chapter of my life. We set the wedding for 6 months later to give ourselves time to plan and save money. My mother was thrilled, already talking about grandchildren. David's parents were equally enthusiastic, welcoming me into their family with open arms. We found a small house to rent in a quiet neighborhood, started registering for gifts, planning our honeymoon to Hawaii. During our engagement, the physical distance continued. I tried not to let it bother me. We were both busy with work, with wedding planning, with life. David would say he was stressed, tired, that he wanted to wait until we were married to really be together. "I'm old-fashioned that way," he'd say with a sheepish smile. I told myself it was romantic, that our wedding night would be even more special because we'd waited. My friends had different opinions. "That's kind of weird, right?" My roommate Jessica said one night over wine. "I mean, you've been together for over a year and he hasn't even tried to sleep with you." "He's just respectful," I defended him. "Not every guy has to be sex-obsessed." "I'm not saying he should be sex-obsessed," Jessica countered. "But there's a difference between being respectful and being completely disinterested. Does he ever seem like he wants you, like really wants you?" I thought about it. The truth was no. David never looked at me with desire in his eyes, never seemed impatient or frustrated by our physical limitations, never seemed like he was struggling to control himself around me, but I pushed those thoughts away. He loved me. He was marrying me. That was what mattered. The wedding day arrived on October 20th, 2018. It was a beautiful autumn day, crisp and clear. I wore a simple white dress, carried a bouquet of roses, walked down the aisle toward David, who stood at the altar looking handsome in his navy suit. We exchanged vows, exchanged rings, kissed in front of our 100 guests. Everyone applauded. My mother cried. It was perfect. The reception was at a nearby venue, elegant but not extravagant. We danced our first dance to a song David had chosen. We cut the cake, threw the bouquet, took endless photos. I was exhausted but happy. This was it, the beginning of our life together. When we finally left the reception around midnight, we drove to the hotel where we were spending our wedding night before flying to Hawaii the next morning. David seemed nervous in the car, fidgeting with the steering wheel, not saying much. I attributed it to nerves. I was nervous too. We entered the hotel room and David immediately went to the bathroom. "I'm going to take a quick shower," he said. "You can go after me." I nodded, sitting on the edge of the bed, my heart pounding. This was it. After a year and a half of waiting, we were finally going to be together. I had bought special lingerie for the occasion, something I'd never worn before, lacy and delicate. I felt both excited and terrified. David took a long time in the shower. When he finally emerged, he was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair damp. He looked at me sitting on the bed in my lingerie and quickly looked away. "You look beautiful," he said, but his voice was flat, lacking the passion I expected. I stood up, walked toward him, tried to kiss him. He kissed me back briefly, then pulled away. "Sarah, I'm really exhausted," he said, not meeting my eyes. "It's been such a long day. Can we just sleep tonight? We have the whole honeymoon ahead of us." I felt disappointment crash over me like a wave, but I forced myself to smile. "Of course, you're right, we're both tired." We got into bed, each on our own side. David turned off the light, kissed me on the cheek, and turned away. I lay there in the darkness, still wearing the lingerie I'd bought for this moment, feeling confused and rejected but telling myself it was fine. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow wasn't different. Neither was the next day or the day after that. Our entire honeymoon in Hawaii passed without David ever initiating intimacy. I tried several times, but he always had an excuse. He was tired from the flight. He had too much sun. He ate too much at dinner. His back hurt. He wanted to wake up early for a hike. Always something. By the end of the week, I was emotionally devastated. I spent one afternoon crying in the hotel bathroom while David was out getting ice, wondering what was wrong with me. Was I not attractive enough? Was I doing something wrong? Why didn't my own husband want to touch me? When we returned home and settled into our new house, I hoped things would change. They didn't. David was a good husband in many ways. He helped with household chores, remembered to buy my favorite snacks, asked about my day. But when it came to physical intimacy, there was nothing. We'd kiss goodbye in the morning, hug hello in the evening, but that was it. I tried talking to him about it a month after the wedding. David, is everything okay? I asked one night as we were getting ready for bed. Yeah, why? He responded, not looking at me as he folded his clothes. It's just, we haven't been together yet as husband and wife, and I'm wondering if there's a problem. He tensed visibly. There's no problem, I'm just adjusting to married life, it's a big change. But we've been together for almost 2 years now, don't you want me? He finally looked at me, his expression pained. Of course I want you, I married you, didn't I? I just need more time to feel comfortable. More time, always more time. I didn't understand how much more time he could possibly need, but I nodded and didn't push further. I didn't want to seem desperate or demanding. I wanted to be understanding, patient, a good wife. 3 months into our marriage, my mother started asking pointed questions. Any news to share? She'd ask with a knowing smile. She was asking about pregnancy, about grandchildren. The thought made me want to laugh bitterly. How could I be pregnant when my marriage hadn't even been consummated? Not yet, Mom, I'd say. We're just enjoying being newlyweds. But I wasn't enjoying anything. I was miserable. My self-esteem was at an all-time low. I'd started avoiding mirrors because I couldn't stand to look at myself. I'd lost weight because I had no appetite. I'd lie awake at night next to David, feeling the warmth of his body so close yet completely unreachable, crying silently into my pillow. My friend Emma noticed something was wrong. We met for coffee one Saturday, and she took one look at me and knew. Sarah, you look terrible. What's going on? Nothing, I lied. Just tired from work. She didn't believe me. This is about David, isn't it? Is everything okay with you too? I wanted to lie again, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. The words came tumbling out. He won't touch me, Emma. We've been married for 3 months and he won't touch me, not once. Never. Emma's eyes widened in shock. What do you mean, never? I mean never, we haven't consummated our marriage. We haven't done anything. He always has an excuse. He's tired, he's stressed, he needs more time. I don't know what to do anymore. Emma was silent for a moment, processing this information. Sarah, that's not normal. Have you considered that maybe he has a medical issue, or maybe? She trailed off, but I knew what she was thinking. The same thing I'd been trying not to think. Maybe what? I asked, though I didn't really want to hear the answer. Maybe he's not attracted to women, she said gently. Maybe he's gay, Sarah. I shook my head violently. No, that's not it. He loves me, he married me. People get married for all kinds of reasons, Emma said carefully. Sometimes to hide who they really are. I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening, but you need to consider all possibilities. I left that coffee date feeling worse than before. Emma's words echoed in my head for days. Was David gay? Was that why he couldn't be intimate with me? The thought was both devastating and strangely logical. It would explain everything, the lack of desire, the constant excuses, the way he seemed more interested in his male coworkers than in me. But I pushed the thought away. It couldn't be true. David was my husband. He had chosen me. He loved me. There had to be another explanation. 6 months into our marriage, I decided to see a doctor. Maybe the problem was me. Maybe there was something wrong with my body that made me unattractive or undesirable. The doctor, a kind woman in her 50s, examined me and ran some tests. Everything looks perfectly healthy, she said. You're in great shape. Is there a specific concern? I hesitated, then decided to be honest. My husband and I have been married for 6 months, and we haven't been able to be intimate. I'm wondering if there's something wrong with me. The doctor looked at me with concern. Has your husband seen a doctor about this? He says he's handling it, that it's just stress. She nodded slowly. Stress can affect intimacy, but 6 months is a long time. Have you considered couples therapy? This might be something that requires professional help beyond just medical intervention. I thanked her and left, but I didn't mention the appointment to David. I knew he'd be angry that I'd discussed our private life with a stranger. Around this time, I started noticing other things. Small things that individually meant nothing but together formed a pattern. David was on his phone constantly, always turning the screen away when I came near. He'd started going out more on weekends, saying he was meeting friends from work. He'd come home late smelling like cologne I didn't recognize. One night, about 8 months into our marriage, David's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. I picked it up without thinking, and the screen lit up with a message notification. The preview showed, "Miss you. When can we meet again? The sender was listed as Chris from work. My heart started pounding. I knew I shouldn't, but I unlocked his phone. I knew his passcode because he'd given it to me months ago for some legitimate reason. I opened his messages. What I found shattered my world completely. There were dozens of messages between David and Chris. Messages that were clearly romantic, intimate, sexual. Messages that made it absolutely clear that David was having an affair, and the affair was with a man. I sat down on the kitchen floor, the phone still in my shaking hands, and read through months of conversations. They talked about meeting up during lunch breaks, about stolen moments in Chris's apartment, about how David wished he could be open about who he really was, about how the marriage was just for show to keep his conservative parents happy. I was mentioned in the messages too. She's starting to ask questions, David had written. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Chris had responded, you need to tell her the truth, it's not fair to either of you. I can't, David wrote back. It would destroy everything, my family, my job, everything. I just need to hold on a little longer. I heard the shower turn off. David would be out any minute. I quickly put the phone back on the counter and stood up, my legs shaking. When he emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist, I was standing in the kitchen staring at him. We need to talk, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. He looked at me, then at his phone on the counter, and the color drained from his face. Sarah, I read your messages, all of them. He stood frozen, water dripping from his hair onto the floor. I can explain. Explain what? My voice was rising now, anger replacing shock. Explain that you're gay, that you've been cheating on me with a man, that our entire marriage is a lie. It's not like that, he started, but I cut him off. It's exactly like that. You used me, David. You married me to hide who you really are. You let me spend 8 months thinking something was wrong with me, that I wasn't attractive enough, that I wasn't good enough, when the truth is you were never attracted to me at all. He sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Sarah, I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to hurt me. I was yelling now, all the pain and frustration of the past months pouring out. You married me knowing you couldn't love me the way a husband should love his wife. You let me blame myself. You let me destroy myself emotionally while you had your secret life with Chris. I tried, he said, his voice breaking. I really tried to make it work. I thought if I just committed to the marriage, if I just tried hard enough, the feelings would change. But they didn't. So you sacrificed me to maintain your lie, I said, my voice cold now. You decided your comfort was more important than my life, my happiness, my future. He looked up at me with tears streaming down his face. I was afraid. My parents are so conservative, they'd never accept me being gay. I'd lose my job, my family, everything. I thought if I got married, I could be normal. I could be what everyone wanted me to be. At my expense, I said quietly. You chose to destroy my life to save yours. He didn't argue. He just sat there crying and I felt nothing. No sympathy, no compassion, just a cold emptiness where my love for him used to be. I want a divorce, I said. I want you out of this house tonight. Sarah, please, can we talk about this? Can we try to work it out? Work what out, David? You're gay, you're in love with someone else. There's nothing to work out. Our marriage was over before it even began. He tried to argue, tried to plead, but I was done. I went to our bedroom, locked the door, and called Emma. She came over within the hour and helped me pack David's things while he sat in the living room in stunned silence. When his bags were by the door, I handed him his phone. Go to Chris. Go be who you really are, just leave me alone. He left that night, and I collapsed onto the floor and cried harder than I'd ever cried in my life. I cried for the lost time, for the wasted love, for the dreams that would never come true. I cried for the girl who'd walked down that aisle 8 months ago, so full of hope and happiness, not knowing she was walking into a nightmare. The next few days passed in a blur. I called in sick to work, unable to face the world. My apartment felt like a tomb, every corner holding memories of the lie I'd been living. Emma stayed with me those first few nights, making sure I ate something, making sure I didn't fall apart completely. When I finally told my mother what happened, there was a long silence on the phone. I don't understand, she finally said. He seemed like such a nice young man. Are you sure about this? I saw the messages, Mom, there's no doubt. Another silence. Well, what will people think? What will I tell the family? I felt anger flash through my grief. I don't care what people think, Mom. I care that I've wasted 2 years of my life on someone who was using me. She softened then. I'm sorry, honey. I just don't know what to say. Come home for a while. Let me take care of you. But I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to be in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by memories of the hopeful girl I used to be. I wanted to face this, to work through it, to come out the other side stronger. I found a therapist, Dr. Martinez, who specialized in helping people recover from traumatic relationships. In our first session, I told her everything, expecting judgment or pity. Instead, she said something that changed my perspective. Sarah, you're not the first person to go through this, and you won't be the last. What David did was wrong, but understanding why he did it can help you heal. He's a victim too, in a way. A victim of a society that made him feel he had to hide who he really was. That doesn't excuse what he did to me, I said. No, it doesn't. But understanding the context helps you not carry anger and bitterness for the rest of your life. You can acknowledge that you were hurt, while also recognizing that his actions came from a place of fear and self-preservation, not from a desire to hurt you specifically. Those sessions helped more than I can express. Week by week, I started to rebuild myself. I started to understand that David's inability to be intimate with me had nothing to do with my worth or attractiveness. He couldn't be intimate with any woman. It wasn't personal, even though it felt deeply personal. The divorce process was surprisingly quick. David didn't contest anything. He signed whatever papers needed signing, divided our assets fairly, and stayed away. I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved in with Chris, that he was living openly as a gay man now. Part of me was angry at how easily he seemed to transition to his authentic life, while I was left picking up the pieces. But another part of me, the part that was growing stronger through therapy, was glad for him. Glad that at least one of us got to be happy and authentic. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion to marketing manager. I moved to a new apartment, one that held no memories of David. I started going to yoga classes, joined a book club, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. I was rebuilding my life piece by piece. About a year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into David at a coffee shop downtown. He was with Chris, and they looked happy, comfortable together in a way David and I never had been. David saw me and went pale. Chris looked between us, clearly understanding who I was. I could have walked away. I could have ignored them, but instead I walked over to their table. Hello, David, I said. Sarah, he stood up awkwardly. How are you? I'm good actually, really good. And I meant it, I was good, I was healing, I was moving forward. This is Chris, he said quietly. Chris extended his hand. I'm sorry for the pain we caused you, what happened wasn't right. I shook his hand. You're right, it wasn't. But I'm learning to forgive, not for you but for myself. Holding on to anger was only hurting me. David's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Sarah, I never wanted to hurt you, I was just so afraid. I know, I said. And I understand now that you were dealing with your own demons. But understanding doesn't excuse what you did. You could have been honest from the beginning. You could have saved both of us a lot of pain. I know, he whispered. If I could go back and do it differently, I would. But you can't, I said gently. None of us can, we can only move forward. I left that coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in months. Seeing them together, seeing David finally able to be himself, gave me a strange sense of closure. His journey wasn't my responsibility. My only responsibility was to myself, to my healing, to my future. I dated casually after that, nothing serious, just rediscovering what it felt like to be desired, to be wanted. It was terrifying at first. I had so much baggage, so many insecurities. But slowly, I learned to trust again, to open up again, to believe that not everyone was hiding something. I met Marcus at a friend's barbecue 2 years after my divorce. He was a graphic designer, funny and kind, with an easy smile and genuine laugh. We started talking by the grill and didn't stop for 3 hours. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him without hesitation. Our relationship developed slowly, healthily. Marcus was patient with my fears and insecurities. When I finally told him about David, about the marriage that never really was. He listened without judgment. "That must have been incredibly painful," he said, taking my hand. "But thank you for trusting me enough to tell me." Physical intimacy was scary at first. Even though I'd been married, I'd never actually been with anyone. I was essentially still a virgin at 28 years old. Marcus was understanding when I explained this to him. "We'll take things at your pace," he said. "There's no rush. I care about you, Sarah. I want you to feel safe and wanted and cherished." And I did. When we finally were together for the first time, it was everything my wedding night should have been. It was tender and caring and passionate. It was real. And afterward, lying in his arms, I cried, not from sadness this time, but from relief. Relief that I was capable of being loved like this. Relief that the damage David had done wasn't permanent. Marcus and I have been together for 2 years now. We're engaged, planning a wedding for next year. But this time feels completely different. This time, I'm not ignoring red flags or making excuses. This time, I'm with someone who genuinely loves and desires me, someone who can't keep his hands off me, someone who makes me feel beautiful and wanted every single day. I'm 30 years old now. Those 3 years with David, 2 years of dating and 1 year of marriage, felt like a lifetime of pain at the time. And they were painful. They damaged my self-esteem, my ability to trust, my sense of self-worth. But they also taught me invaluable lessons. I learned that love without honesty is just a pretty lie. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I learned that forgiveness is possible, even when the hurt runs deep. And I learned that everyone, including David, is fighting battles we can't see, carrying burdens we don't understand. David's struggle with his sexuality in a world that wasn't always accepting is real and valid. His fear of rejection from his family and community is understandable. But none of that justified using me as a cover for his secret life. He could have been honest from the beginning. He could have saved both of us years of pain. I don't hate David anymore. I don't even think about him most days. When I do, I feel a distant sadness for what could have been if he'd had the courage to be himself from the start. I hope he's happy now, living authentically with Chris. Everyone deserves to live their truth. But I also hope my story serves as a warning. If you're in a relationship where something feels fundamentally wrong, trust your instincts. If your partner can't or won't be intimate with you, if there are constant excuses, if you feel rejected and unwanted, don't make excuses for them. Don't blame yourself. Demand honesty. Demand answers. And if you don't get them, have the courage to walk away. You deserve someone who loves all of you, who desires you, who can't wait to be with you. You deserve honesty and authenticity and passion. Don't settle for less because you're afraid of being alone or because you've already invested so much time. The time you've already spent is gone. You can't get it back, but you can decide how you spend your future. And if you're someone like David, someone living a lie because you're afraid of judgment, please understand that the lie hurts everyone, including yourself. Yes, coming out is scary. Yes, there might be people who reject you. But living authentically, even with its challenges, is infinitely better than living in the shadows. And dragging someone else into your lie only multiplies the pain. The truth always comes out eventually. Better to face it on your own terms than to have it explode and destroy multiple lives in the process. I'm grateful for where I am now. I'm grateful for Marcus, for my friends who supported me, for Dr. Martinez who helped me heal, for the strength I didn't know I had. I'm grateful even for the pain because it taught me what I deserve and what I will no longer tolerate. Those 3 years weren't wasted. They were hard lessons, but lessons nonetheless. And now, at 30, I'm ready for the life I was always meant to have. A life built on truth, on genuine love, on mutual desire and respect. If my story resonates with you, if you're going through something similar, please know you're not alone. There are resources, support groups, therapists who specialize in helping people recover from these situations. Don't suffer in silence. Don't blame yourself. And don't let anyone convince you that you're being unreasonable for wanting honesty and intimacy in your marriage. You deserve better. We all deserve better. And it's never too late to start over, to reclaim your life, to find the happiness that was always meant to be yours.